thank you so much for coming back onto my channel if you have been here before, and if you're new, oh my goodness, thank you for stopping in. I appreciate everybody who has been constantly supporting me throughout the time that I've had my channel. If you're new and you want to go ahead and subscribe, feel free to do that. Like this video if you enjoy it. If you don't, dislike it. There's nothing wrong with that. I appreciate you so much for being here. It has been quite some time since I have made a video, and I'm truly sorry for that. I have had a lot going on with my health, and also being in quarantine, as I hope we all are. I have been working from home, which is a phenomenal thing, and I'm so thankful for that, but it takes up a lot of my time, and so I am trying to balance that out. I apologize again for not posting for a long time, and I'm hoping to get that ball rolling and post more often. I am going to talk for a few minutes about kind of the direction of my channel. If you're one of those people who don't really want to hear that, that's perfectly fine. I'll post a time stamp in the description below, and you can click that and it will take you straight to the content. I'm just really wanting to start focusing more on this channel and posting more content. I have two ideas that I'm going to throw out there, and you can let me know what you think if you want. I know for a fact that I'm going to continue posting my true crime videos where I talk about things like that I'm going to be talking about today. But on top of that, I have a little series that I'm working on that is called Plot Twist Tuesdays. I know it's kind of corny, but whatever. I'm going to be posting a video on Tuesdays containing a true crime story that has a plot twist in it. So if you're interested in that, let me know. That would be 2 videos a week. Hold me to it. I'm gonna do it. I've told people in my life to make sure I am focusing on this channel as well and hold me accountable. So hopefully I will get that going. Don't forget about our giveaway for 1,000 subscribers. Once we get there, all you have to do is be subscribed to my channel. Also, if you're interested, check out a podcast that I was on recently with my great friend Laurel Lunsford. It's called Blonde and Friends. We talked true crime, we talked conspiracy theories, we talked JonBenet Ramsey, we talked about it all. So if you're interested in that, I will also post a link in the description below. Give her a like and a follow as well. I'll put her socials down there. I had so much fun on that. Before we start this video, I just want to say that this story, this case, has been something that I have been following since probably about 4 or 5 days after Gannon went missing. It's one of those cases that I have emotionally attached myself to. I don't know how many parts this case is going to be broken into. It will be a few, probably, and it will be an ongoing discussion, periodic updates on this case, because it is something that I am incredibly passionate about. As always, this video is not meant to harm or hurt the family or friends of Gannon Stauch in any way. I'm trying to bring awareness to this case. Like so many others, we have all been touched by this young man and his story. This particular video does not contain too much graphic detail. I will let you know if there's a certain part where there will be something that is a little bit more sensitive to hear or see. But overall, this should be just a pretty informative setup for the remainder of this case. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you again so much. Gannon Stauch was born September 29th, 2008 to Landon Bullard Stauch and Albert Stauch. Now, Landon was a science teacher and a physical education teacher, so a PE teacher, and Albert was in the military. He predominantly goes by Al, so whether it's Al, Albert, I'll be calling him both more than likely in this video. Gannon was born in Loris, South Carolina. When he was born, doctors did not think he was going to live. He was born prematurely, and also he only weighed 1 pound and 6 ounces at the time of birth. Doctors gave him a 10% chance at life, but he beat all the odds and survived. He grew up to be a brilliant, handsome, funny, smart, kind, and just adorable young guy. His mother said that although he was born premature and he did have some struggles as a newborn, he grew up and had no delays in growth, either physically, mentally, anything like that. He was a perfectly healthy young boy, except he was on some form of medication, but there's never been a release of what medication that was. There's been rumors that it was medicine for ADD or ADHD, but again, I don't want to say that for sure because I'm all about being factual within these videos. There's no reputable sources that say what medication he was on. His family said he was such a loving and kind young boy. He loved telling corny jokes and making silly faces, especially, to his mom. He loved his friends and family. He was an all-around great young kid. Neighbors said he would come over when it would snow and he would offer to shovel snow for free just because that's the kind of kid he was. Gannon loved video games, and he especially loved Sonic. So he was looking forward to the Sonic movie, which at this time has already come out, but he was looking so forward to that coming out, and he just loved video games and YouTube. He had his own YouTube channel where he would upload his little video game videos, and it was really a sweet thing to watch because he lit up with passion playing those games, and he had the cutest little smile, and he was just all around the just most adorable kid.
Hey guys, and today I'm about to play some Sonic Mania.
As I said, he was born in South Carolina, and that's where the majority of his family lives. Landon and Al also had another child after Gannon named Lena, and Gannon loved her. He loved being her big brother. Landon had a friend who was a fellow teacher. Now, I don't know if they worked at the same school or if they met in school. I don't know how they met, but she was also a teacher, and her name was Letitia Hunt. Letitia also goes by Tisha or T. I'll be calling her probably all three in this video. It is rumored that Al and Tisha had an affair while Al was married to Landon. I can't say this is 100% certain because I wasn't there, and there's a lot of he said, she said, but overall, Landon ended up divorcing Al, and he and Tisha got married in January of 2015. Landon also remarried to a man named Mike Hyatt, and they went on to have 2 daughters themselves. Tisha and Al had not had any children yet, besides Al's 2 children, and Tisha also had a daughter who was older than Gannon named Harley. We don't know the exact reason. There's a lot of speculation and rumors, and I know I've said that a lot, but a lot of the stuff that happened within this family early on has not been released to the public, and it shouldn't have to. It's their business, so I'm not going to focus a ton on what is and what isn't true, but we do know that Tisha and Al had custody of Gannon and Lena, and it's not really been released why, but things happen, and all that matters in the story at this moment is Al and Tisha had custody of Gannon and Lena, but Gannon and Lena saw Landon, their mother, often. Gannon texted Landon every single day, multiple times a day. Due to Al taking a job with the Colorado Springs National Guard, the family picked up and moved to Colorado. So it was Al, Tisha, Harley, Gannon, and Lena that all picked up and moved to Colorado Springs, Colorado. The neighborhood they lived in was called Lorson Ranch. It was kind of like a garden home neighborhood. Like all of the, I don't want to say Stepford Wives houses, but all of the houses looked similar. They were very close together. I don't exactly know what that is called, but that's kind of the setup of the houses. And I tell you that because it does come into play later. So before we move on with this story, we're going to backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about Tisha for a moment. Tisha is Native American. She's from South Carolina. All of her family lives in South Carolina. I know she has a sister named Julie, or Jules, or Juju, as she goes by lots of different names, but we're going to call her Julie for the sake of this video. Tisha was also married to a man who overdosed, unfortunately. Like I said previously, Tisha was a teacher. She was an elementary school teacher. She was very educated. T initially went to the University of Pembroke in North Carolina and studied political science. She then went on to get her master's in curriculum and instruction at Capella University. Then she went on to Liberty University to get her doctorate in education in 2019. Once they moved to Colorado, she also got her license updated to teach secondary, elementary, and specialized education in that area. So let's talk a little bit about her career history. What did she do? What did she do with all of these degrees that she had gotten? She was an education specialist, teacher, and at-risk youth coordinator. I'm going to read this one because it is kind of long and I don't want to mess it up. But she then went on to work at the South Carolina State Department of Social Services as a human services specialist from 2008 to 2010 in Myrtle Beach. There's a common theme with Tisha. She loves social media. She posts on social media constantly. She constantly is posting about work, her personal life, her children, her husband, so on and so forth. She stated on LinkedIn, which is a popular job hunting profile that you can put your professional accolades and past jobs and past education on to help you find a better job if you're interested in that. It's also used as like a resume. A lot of jobs when you are interviewing will require you to give them your LinkedIn, or at least they used to. I don't know if they still do. She stated on LinkedIn and on Facebook that she was a curriculum developer at Social District 9 in Pikes Peak region of Colorado, which, you know, as I already told you, she moved to Colorado with Al and with her stepchildren and her daughter. The school district later reported that that wasn't true, that Tisha never worked for them. Tisha does have a somewhat extensive criminal history. She, like a lot of people, has some traffic violations throughout the years, which, you know, whatever. We've all made mistakes. We all get speeding tickets or parking tickets. I know I have. It happens. However, she also got injury to personal property in 2000, false bond reporting in 2001, communicating threats in 2001, simple assault in 2001, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle in June of 2001. She had 3 arrests in 2001, and in 2002 she was on probation for the April of 2001 simple assault charge that she had. She had a domestic violence case against her in 2010, which was later dropped. She was arrested in South Carolina for that, but like I said, the case was later dropped. Although this isn't criminal, I think this is important to state. In 2015, she was working as a teacher in South Carolina, but her license in South Carolina, her teaching license, was revoked due to failure to show up at the beginning of the school year for the 2015-2016 school year. As I was looking into this, I found this about that. She abandoned her job at Palmetto Middle School in Mullins, South Carolina. This was in the Marion County School District. She signed her contract to return in June of 2015 without telling anyone that she had also signed a contract to take a job in Charleston. She went to the in-service professional development days and the first 2 days of school, which all took place in August of 2015, but after that, she just never came back. She did not give a letter of resignation. She just emailed them after the fact, a couple of days after she quit, saying that she quit due to harassment. She said she was harassed after she attempted to quit the job, telling them that she was moving with her husband for military purposes to a different state. She also claimed that her attempt to do that was denied. She claims and alleges that the superintendent's niece is Landon, Al's ex-wife, and that the harassment came from that relationship, that niece and aunt or uncle relationship. Nothing really ever came of those claims. The school board district said that they never received her letter of resignation or her transfer papers or anything like that until after they had already fired her for abandoning her position. T has been fired a total of 3 times. Once, the one I just told you about, twice when she worked in Horry County School District. It was a job in North Carolina. She was fired from there for unspecified reasons. And third, her most recent job in Colorado. She lost jobs in 2015, 2018, and 2019, which, yikes. In January of 2020, Tisha posted on her LinkedIn that she had applied for flight attendant jobs in Denver and in Miami. Like I stated, Al was in the National Guard and has been since 2005. He's currently an operations officer at the 100th Missile Defense Brigade. Like I said, they all moved from South Carolina to Colorado. So now we're going to jump ahead to January 25th, 2020. Gannon is a 5th grader at Grand Mountain Elementary in Colorado. T claims that Gannon was helping her unload in their garage and that he stepped on a tool of some sort because Al liked to woodwork and he cut his foot open. She states that Gannon sat on the edge of her car and she bandaged up his foot. She went on to say that Gannon loved to feel like the man of the house when Albert was not there. He had a key to a tall gate that was outside in the backyard in their garden home, and he liked to go to that gate. I don't know, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but she states that multiple times in a public statement that she later releases, which again, we'll get more into that. I know I keep saying that, but this is a deep dive into this case. The next morning, which was Sunday, January 26th, the neighbor Roderick Drayton, he sees Gannon and Lena outside running around and says that Gannon was just as happy and as playful as normal. And Tisha comes outside and she tells them to get in the car, she tells them which seat to get into, and they leave. Tisha said they went to Garden of the Gods, which is a beautiful, just mountainous area where they went hiking. They took a photo, the three of them together, and there's a man in the background of that photo who confirms that was that day and that was at that location. After they went there and hiked, they left and they went to Burger King. It is not released whether it was straight to Burger King or if they went home and back to Burger King or who all went, but nonetheless, Harley, Tisha's daughter, saw the three of them at home that evening. Now is a time where it's going to get a little dark, a little sad, a little hard to listen to. If you are interested, I'm going to give a just overview and then I will put a time stamp below so you can fast forward past the details of this video that I'm going to show. It's nothing hard to see, but it's hard to listen to, and you'll know more of what I mean in just a moment. You're going to hear me referring to the candle incident a lot throughout this entire series of videos. No matter how many videos there are, you will hear me referring to this often. So on Sunday, January 26th at around 11 p.m., Tisha texts Al saying that Gannon knocked a candle over and lit the carpet on fire, and he was just so incredibly upset. She alleges that Gannon had used the bathroom on himself that night, which was some stomach issues, and that they were going to go to the doctor the next day, which would be Monday, but we'll focus on that in a moment. But this text to Al, she just states that he was very, very upset. So there's a video of it, and the video is very hard to listen to because you hear Gannon in it. I know a lot of people like the element of mystery and surprise in these true crime videos, and I do too. I love to deliver these videos where you're not really sure what the ending's going to be, but at the same time we have to remember that this is someone's life, and in this case it's a child's life that is lost. So this next few minutes, it's going to get hard to hear. If you choose to listen to the video, which I debated putting it in, but I feel like it is incredibly telling and incredibly important to this case. Tisha says that Gannon knocked over a candle and it lit the carpet on fire. She texts Al around 11 p.m. that night and lets him know what happened and said Gannon was so upset. In this video, that Tisha recorded and says that it was an accident that she recorded it. You can see a glimpse of Lena sitting in her bed, in her bedroom, and Tisha walks from Lena's bedroom into the living room, and you don't really see anything, but you hear two things that stand out to me. One is the television. This is the night that they released that Kobe had passed away. So there were, reports on the television. You can hear them talking about Kobe, losing his life. You can also hear Gannon, and he is sobbing. And it's not something that is coming from a place of embarrassment or shame, like he didn't mean to knock the candle over, it was an accident, and he's so sorry. His cries are horrific. They come from a place of fear. Sorry. They come from a place of fear and a place of pain. And it's apparent that he was hurting physically. It's hard to listen to. And again, I encourage you to listen if you can handle it. But just know it's hard, but it's telling of how Tisha is so nonchalant about the whole thing. And I'm just gonna play the clip.
Room 2, I just don't know what to do.
Well, devastating. Initially, Scott, I can't lie when the TMZ information was
Gannon, I promise it's the last time I'm going to ask you. I'm just freaked out, okay? Are you sure you didn't do it on purpose?
He did it.
Okay, you promise. You promise.
On purpose.
Pinky promise.
Pinky.
Okay, alright, so, listen. We're gonna have to sell stuff to fix it, okay? So, we figure out what we gotta sell. We can sell the sofa, we can sell whatever, because we gotta get it fixed, so lady, don't be mad at us and kick us out of the house, okay? You got it?
I want to talk about a few points from this candle incident video that I don't quite understand, and I don't know if I will ever understand. Tisha talks about wanting to sell the couch to make up for the money that was lost due to the carpet being burned or gone, essentially, from the fire that allegedly happened. I don't know why she said this to him. I don't know why an adult would be saying, look what we're having to do because you knocked this candle over and it lit the carpet on fire. I know kids do make mistakes and messes and things happen. Adults do. Everyone does. We're human. I don't think that a candle would cause such a bad fire on the carpet that they would have to sell a couch to replace that patch of carpet. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I've never rented a home, but I know that there are landlords and landladies who are sticklers for nothing happening, or you won't get your deposit back, or so on and so forth. So I understand panic. I understand if that happened, wanting to fix it. I don't understand why bringing a child into this would make it any better. I don't know why she told him this. Lena was in the bed and Gannon was in the living room listening to a very loud television. It makes me wonder, did Tisha know that the next day Gannon would not be going to school since it was a school night and it was around 11 p.m.? Again, I have a lot of questions about this video, and these questions will only double when we revisit this candle incident. We're going to go ahead and move on to Monday, January 27th, which is the day that Gannon goes missing. Now, this is Tisha's account of the day, and I want you to keep that in mind. It is her account of the day. Gannon doesn't go to school that morning. Tisha said he had a stomach ache, and they were going to go to the doctor because of the stomach ache. She texts a friend, in fact, stating that she's taking him to the doctor that day for a stomach ache. Lena goes to school. She gets on her bus around 7:45 a.m. T alleges that they get in the truck around 10:15 a.m. and it's her and Gannon. They drove to Petco, which was about 30 minutes from their home, even though there was a Petco closer to them. Allegedly, T bought 3 dog coat harnesses, something like that, even though they only had 2 dogs. The employee said that Tisha was alone, but she kept going to the window and peering out, trying to look and see what was going on outside. They said that she checked out at 11 o'clock on the dot and she was acting pretty odd. Now, allegedly, she left her phone at Petco. There's been sites and sources that say that, and there's been sites and sources that say she left her phone at home. But either way, her phone was not on her when she left Petco the first time. She said she ran other errands, like going to a sports equipment store for Gannon to pick up or drop off some sports equipment. She said she also went back to Petco and gave no real reason. So it leads me to wonder, was she getting her phone? Was she exchanging something? Was she returning something? She drove home, and her drive home takes about 30 minutes. She says she drove home, got there, and took a selfie with Gannon at that moment in the driveway and went inside. She said she arrived home around 2:15. Lena arrived home around 3:10 on the bus. She said Gannon went to play with his friend around 3:15, anywhere between 3:15 and 4:15. He went to play with a friend. She said she wasn't sure what friend. She was not really paying attention when he came to tell her. She apparently had headphones in and allegedly had been working out or something of the nature, but she did not know what friend. She said, quote, she doesn't keep up with his friends, end quote. Al later on says that he and Gannon and Lena have the street light rule, which is really cool. I mean, it's something that is nostalgic. It's something that I didn't even know people were still doing, but I had it growing up. It's where the street light comes on and you have to go home when the street light comes on if you're playing outside. Tisha let Al know when it was dark and Gannon had not returned home. Al, keep in mind, was out of town for work, but he texted all of the people in the neighborhood. Like I said, it was a pretty physically close neighborhood. There were a lot of people in that neighborhood. Al texted them and asked if anyone had seen Gannon. Nobody had seen him at all, and they thought that wasn't like him. So Tisha calls 911. At 6:55 p.m., dispatch receives a call from Gannon Stauch saying that her stepson had run away. They were sent to the Lorson Ranch neighborhood on 6600 block of Mandan Drive. A missing person report was put into the database at 7:32 p.m. on Monday, January the 27th for Gannon Stauch. At 8:43, a neighbor who Al had texted posted in their neighborhood watch, community page, that Gannon was missing. Gannon Stauch was declared a runaway. He was 4'9", 90 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes, last seen wearing a blue hoodie, jeans, and tennis shoes. He had no jacket, no bags, and didn't even take his phone. He was originally dubbed a runaway because Tisha found a search in his search history on his cell phone. He had allegedly Googled if parents could track your phone if your phone was turned off. On Tuesday, January 28th, which was one day since Gannon had been missing, a text was floating around saying that Tisha had attempted to take him to the doctor that previous Monday. Al took an emergency flight home and landed anywhere between 11:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. on that Tuesday. Landon also was flying out or traveling out, but she had an unknown time of arrival. Tisha rents a car to look for Gannon. She said she rented a car for several reasons. One, her vehicle had the mileage cap. She was leasing the vehicle, and if she reached a certain mileage, then she wouldn't be able to return it to lease another vehicle. She also stated that she wanted to be in a strange car, so if Gannon saw them, he wouldn't think he was in trouble. He would just see them and apparently run up to a strange car, because apparently a strange car would be more likely to attract their missing son than them. We're gonna get really deep into the rental car probably in the next video. At 12:29 p.m. that day, the case was turned over to the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. Detectives collect interviews, they set up surveillance, and they continue to follow up on additional leads. Like if people called in a tip, they would see if it was a reliable tip. Like one person thought they saw Gannon that night and they followed that tip up, and the video was shown to Landon and she said that was not her son. The family was given contact information for the media. They were allowed to reach out to the media to release their story, but the media could not reach out to them to release the story, considering it was a runaway and not a missing child. Just a little after 10 p.m. on Tuesday, January the 28th, which is the day after Gannon had gone missing, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office detectives, investigators, they show up to the Stauch home. Law enforcement walked up and searched the backyard. They had flashlights. They looked into the garage, which was open, and the car was pulled out of the garage. They were just looking at that point. On Wednesday, January the 29th, which was 2 days since Gannon was missing, there's not much about that day. All we know is that the investigation continued. But on Thursday, January 30th, a lot happened. The case was upgraded from a runaway to a missing and endangered person. They said that due to the weather, which it was freezing and snowing in Colorado at this time, and also Gannon's age, how long he'd been missing, and the fact that he needed his medication, they made this upgrade from a runaway to a missing and endangered person. The El Paso County Sheriff's Office also reaches out to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children for resources. They also reach out to the FBI's Crime Abduction Rapid Deployment Team for resources and help. At some point, T and Harley were at Marshall's at the Woodlawn Academy, and it was either in the parking lot, in front of Marshall's, somewhere around Marshall's. They were either on their way there, on their way home, but T mentions it being at Marshall's. Authorities came up and took their white Volkswagen Jetta, which was Harley's car to drive. They took the car into possession, and it was turned into the evidence compound at 1:45 p.m. on that Thursday. Allegedly, a gun was pulled on Harley and she was put into handcuffs. We're going to definitely go into more detail on that in just a few seconds. Officials later that day also stated that there was a lot of, quote, misinformation, end quote, about this case, but they did not go into detail about that. Friday, January 31st was, in my opinion, the most interesting day in this ongoing case. This is the day that I found out about this case, and I know for a fact because of an interview that Tisha is going to do. I remember sitting in an apartment in New York. I was there on vacation, and I remember watching this interview that we're about to talk about that happened on Friday, January 31st. And I remember showing my boyfriend and being like, what? Like, it is just unbelievable. And he probably doesn't even remember, but it was like, just wait. So on that Friday, a lot of good happened. Ribbons went up in the area, blue ribbons. Blue was Gannon's favorite color. Blue ribbons went up in the Lorson Ranch neighborhood and all in the entire town that they lived in. At the entrance of Lorson Ranch, there were beautiful tributes to Gannon. There were big letters that said praying for Gannon, and Sonic the Hedgehog stuffed animals and candles, ribbons and balloons and letters, video games. There were flowers and stuffed animals, just everything in honor and in tribute to Gannon and his family, to let them know that they were standing with them. Volunteers for searches were just rapidly coming in. Al said at one point he opened the door and there were over 300 people standing there ready to go search for Gannon that day.
Well, what an incredible community we have. I mean, everybody in here in a team, incredible team that, I came out my front door, I think it was Tuesday, and there was 300 people out there searching my neighborhood. It blew me away.
People were riding on the sidewalk, especially Gannon's schoolmates and the other children, riding on the sidewalk, talking about how they were praying for Gannon, writing him encouraging messages in case he saw them, saying that they loved him and were praying for him and were thinking of him. A man who was in the military came and used his drone to help search the land for Gannon. And he said that the reason he did it is because he had been in the military for 12 years, and Al was also in the military, and that's just what you do. You just look out for one another. People, all kinds of people, stores, bakeries, restaurants, they donated money, food, items that the family could use. Donated water to the volunteers, food for the volunteers, percentages of their profits at their stores, bakeries, restaurants to go to the family during this time to try to cover some of the cost of what they were going through at the time. The community really, really had hope that Gannon was going to come home safe, happy, to a warm home with his family that loved him and missed him. They really thought that he was going to be safe. They loved him. They wanted him to come home. They believed in their hearts that he would. They hoped desperately and had faith that he would come home. While all of this was happening, there was something else happening. People on social media were talking about Tisha, making a lot of really heinous claims that she had murdered Gannon, that she had hurt him, kidnapped him, put him somewhere. She was defending herself. Her and her sister that I mentioned previously were defending Tisha at all costs. When she was sticking up for herself, it was all about her, which is a reoccurring theme that you're going to see with Tisha. Tisha does an exclusive interview with Spencer Wilson from KKTV, and I love this guy. He is the best. After I saw this interview, like I said, I was glued to my phone, glued to this case. I myself had so much faith that Gannon was going to come home. I joined so many Facebook groups supporting Gannon, telling his story. I fell in love with this young man's story and the power that he had to bring a community together to look for him and search for him. We're going to get more into the Facebook groups in just a moment, but let's talk about this infamous interview. To set the scene, Tisha made them film her from behind. So, for example, the camera is the camera, obviously. She was standing here. This is the back of her head. I need a manicure. Sorry, I'm quarantined. But she was standing here, and Spencer Wilson was standing where I am. So you saw the back of her head and the front of Spencer Wilson's face. I thought the fact that she decided to stand backwards, not look at the camera, was an interesting and telling thing. But at the time I was like, I'm probably looking too much into this. Let's take a break from the timeline to talk about this interview in detail. I'm gonna hit the high points. Obviously I can't mention everything she said in this because these videos would be a billion hours long, and I'm trying to keep them pretty concise and to the point. But if you are interested in watching the interview, like I said, I'm going to be posting it below. It is interesting to watch if you enjoy true crime, and especially if you enjoy interviews and body language. Something that stands out and is a theme is T making it all about herself. For example, she said, quote, "I took care of Gannon," end quote.
I took care of Gannon for the last 2 years in our home because his mother didn't want to do it.
It's past tense. When she said, "I took care of Gannon," that is past tense, and there are times where she does speak of him in past tense, but there are times where she speaks of him in present tense as well. Which the past tense thing, if you are familiar with interviews and interrogations and things, that's a very alarming thing. But like I said, she goes back and forth between past and present tense, so make of it what you will. She was just so solely focused on herself, and she barely even mentioned finding Gannon, which is the point. That is a plea. That is what you were supposed to be doing. So it was just odd to me.
Any message for Gannon?
The message for Gannon I have is, Gannon, when you get here, you'll be able to truly tell what happened. And then I really hope I get a sincere apology from everyone who has made all those things, especially from my husband.
And when she does mention him, which was few and far in between, she says things like, he was so sweet, he was so kind, he could tell if you were sick, he could this, he did that. And that's just telling to me.
Can you talk to me a little bit about him? I don't know him.
Gannon is so kind, and he loves to play video games. That's one of his favorite things. He loves Sonic and Mario, and You know, he's always helpful, and he was always so helpful with the dogs around the house, and we have 2 little cute dogs, and he was always like a person I could say, Gannon, can you go do this? And he would do it right away. You know, sometimes with kids we have to remind them and things like that, and that's okay, but he was so sweet and able to help anyone. He could notice when you're sick and say, are you okay? And such a kind heart.
She also mentions Landon never being around. She mentions Landon several times throughout this in a derogatory fashion. She said, quote, my husband's ex-wife is living in our home. I'm not going home when I was told I couldn't, end quote.
2, my husband's ex-wife is living in our home, and of course I'm not coming home to do these things and to help with the family when I was kind of like told I couldn't.
She claimed to have received 20 plus death threats. At one point she says, I'm so ready for Gannon to come home, I really want an apology. So it's like she can't mention Gannon without mentioning herself. And she was acting like it was an inconvenience for him to be gone, that she was having to endure so much hate because he was gone.
I'm just ready for Gannon to come home. Most importantly, for him to see his family. But second, I am going to be so ecstatic when I'm able to say to people that I hope they have a really sincere apology for all these theories that have came out online, for all the things they said that I have done or people have done. And I just want everyone to know that we're going to find Gannon. And I love him so much. I've helped taking care of him for so long.
She then goes on to tell the story of the day that she and Harley were at Marshall's. She states that the law enforcement officers never identified themselves. They just came up and acted like they were going to shoot her and Harley. They put Harley in handcuffs. Keep in mind, this happened the day before, so the Marshall's incident happened on Thursday. This interview took place on Friday. The El Paso County Sheriff's Office could not say whether this incident was true or not because it's an ongoing investigation and they can't make comments about those things. So they never denied it, but they also never said it was true. She said that after that incident, she was taken in to the police station for an interview. She claims that her constitutional rights were violated during this interview. She said there were 2 good detectives. She said that their tactics made her feel uncomfortable and she didn't understand the words that they used. She claims that she was denied an attorney and deemed as, quote, not complying, end quote.
Point that we were held with a gun, and my daughter, a 17-year-old who serves our country in the United States Air Force, who has never committed a crime or done anything wrong in her life, was put in handcuffs over the keys that was in her purse so they could take her car.
And they weren't in there?
They weren't even in her car. I mean, in her purse.
And
they were in my pocket.
You originally didn't even know it was the law enforcement officers?
I didn't know it was a law enforcement officer because when he came out, I guess he was putting his jacket on, and it wasn't necessarily his fault. He was adjusting and happened to catch me. But I saw the gun and I panicked originally and kind of thought, oh gosh, I got the, like, who's this guy? And then once I realized it was the sheriff's office, I was totally okay, but they still had a gun and told me they were going to shoot me. But I was really concerned about my daughter, asking why she was being detained in handcuffs and things like that, when that shouldn't even happen for a child. That shouldn't happen for someone who was standing inside of a store shopping because we couldn't have any clothes because all of our clothes were here. If we came here and got clothes, you know, we would be harassed. So she went to purchase some underwear and things like that and was put in the handcuffs in the store, you know, and then brought out with men with guns. And that's just not okay. You know, they could have approached me and said, hi, I'm with El Paso County. Can I please get this? Instead of the way that it happened. Many other things that happened with the El Paso County Police Department, you know, and in doing the investigation, I was told I wasn't complying. And could I elaborate on that?
Please do.
Yes. So I asked for an attorney during the interview, and I was denied that by them. I was held because they were blocking the door, and I was told I couldn't leave, and that if I would have touched them, they would have probably, you know, said I still wasn't complying or said I was, you know, trying to run away or something. But during the interview, I asked several times, could I stop the interview? Could I get an attorney? Could I stop the interview? Could I get an attorney? I was denied. I was told I couldn't get nothing to drink. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I mean, it was continuously that my constitutional rights were violated.
And that's why you say that they said then you weren't cooperating with the investigation.
That's why they said I wasn't cooperating at that time, correct.
And why did you ask for an attorney at the time?
Well, I asked for an attorney at the time because there was one individual, there was 2 really good detectives, and so I'm not, you know, going to talk bad about detectives, but the tactics they started to get when I would answer questions, they try to, you know, they're detectives, they're supposed to twist, the one main goal is to find Gannon. But during that time, some of those things made me feel uncomfortable the way they were saying things, so I immediately stopped and felt like an attorney would help me with some of the vocabulary and things like that I needed help with and understanding some of the things that they were asking.
At one point, and probably the most disgusting moment of the interview, she tries to use her daughter to cover her tracks. Spencer mentions something along the lines of, did anyone see you on Sunday evening? And she said her daughter did. Her daughter was at work, but she came home from work and she saw them. Now she walks away because Harley is inside and this interview is being taken place outside. She walks away, and although she's not on camera, you can hear her speaking to Harley because her microphone was still on. It was still hot. She tells Spencer Wilson, and I'm going to say it just the way she did, she can say that. It almost sounded like she was going to say she can prove, but quickly changed it from prove to say that.
Could we bring my daughter up here? Because she can go and say that,
When she's off screen, but her mic's on, you can hear her coaching Harley. She says, quote, "They want you to verify that Gannon was home after the hike on Sunday because you didn't go on the hike, but you saw him after you got off of work," end quote. She quite literally was feeding lines to Harley. Now, Harley came over very formally and also faced away from the camera and spoke to Spencer Wilson and said the exact same phrase that her mother had just said to her. She said, "I can verify that Gannon was home on Sunday afternoon. I saw him. I didn't go on the hike within the afternoon, but I came home and saw him after work." She then walks off of the screen, and Tisha and Spencer continue the interview, just the two of them.
Is there anything we can hear about the hike? Was there a hike? That just seems like rumors right now.
You know what? Could we bring my daughter up here? Because she can go and say that, she came home from work after the hike, and she can verify that Gannon was at our home.
Okay, yeah, that's fine with me. And if she doesn't want to, that's okay, but you're allowed to ask her. Sound okay so far?
Yes. I need Harley. Because they want you to verify was Gannon at home after the hike. Because you didn't go to the hike, but you came home from work.
Do you want me to just say yes?
No, just answer the question. Yes, you came home from work, and you can verify Gannon was at home. Yeah. I told her she didn't have to be too in-depth because she is still, a child. But I want to make sure that someone knows that there's another person to verify that Gannon.
Sure.
Does she need to hold this?
No.
Yes, so I came home later that evening. I was at work, and I can verify that he was there that night.
So there was a hike that you guys went on, but then you guys came home.
Yes.
Where'd you guys go hiking?
Garden of the Gods.
Garden of the Gods. Okay. I guess when.
And then we ate Burger King afterwards, so,
There you go.
Yeah.
And then it just was, I'm gonna go to play at a friend's house.
The interview ended with Tisha saying, "I don't care what people think of me. I don't care if they think that I'm a bad person," which was odd to me because she spent the entire interview trying to prove to people that she wasn't bad and she was a good person and that people should owe her an apology and see her for who she truly is, which is a great and almighty person who took care of Gannon since he was born, but that's just me.
For me, it's okay that they think those things because the way someone thinks about me, I don't have a problem with that.
She also cries in the last minute or so of the interview.
We just wanted to add a message to Gannon from my family, is that we love you and miss you, and we hope that you come home soon. And Gannon, I can't wait till you can come home and let everyone know that you're okay. We love you.
I have a few takeaways from this video. At one point, Spencer asks her to introduce herself, and she says, quote, "I'm Tisha Stauch, which is Gannon's stepmother."
I am Tisha Stauch, which is Gannon's stepmother.
That is distancing. She distances herself from him. It's a very bizarre thing to say. I'm not a mother at all, but if I was, I would say, "I'm Lexie. I'm so-and-so's stepmother." Or "I'm so-and-so's stepmother, Lexie." I would never say, "I'm Lexie, which is blah blah blah's stepmother." It's just a very odd thing to say, in my opinion. She never wore a wedding band in the video, which we don't know if she wears one, in her everyday life. So we can't assume that, it was just gone for that video. Spencer asks her, and to me this is one of the most telling signs. When I heard this, I was like, wait a minute. Spencer asks her, "Were you the last person to see Gannon?" And she said, "Yes." Which, wouldn't that not be true, considering he has friends that saw him before he went missing? I don't know. That was just bizarre to me.
You're the last person to see him. Is that right?
Correct.
She just had so much deflection. She blamed Landon, the cops, society, people attacking her, internet, everyone but herself. She is the victim. She made herself the victim, even though there was an actual victim in Gannon. Her normal hand gestures in this case were very much like, you know, I, you, blah, blah, blah. There was never much else. It was very basic hand gestures. Nothing stood out to me. But thank you to Linda from It's a Crime YouTube channel, who you all need to check out. I'll post her channel below as well. She made a very, very, very interesting point. There's a position called the rotatory hand position, and I'm going to read it. So it is I'm going to scoot back for this. It is a palms up display. So your hands are in this manner. So it's also known as the rotatory hand position or palms up display. This is a universal behavior of humility, compliance, or cooperation used by people who want to be accepted or believed. The presentation of hands facing up is a universal way of saying, my hands are clean. There is nothing hidden here. I implore you, or I am at your command. It is also used in religious ceremonies to demonstrate humility and piety. The entire time she is doing this interview, her hands are fairly normal, nothing major. And at one point, she says, Gannon is not dead.
The rumors have gotten so bad. I pretty much have been told at least 10 different ways that these people have these conspiracy theories. I guess they watch a lot of law shows and maybe they have all these theories on how Gannon is dead. And that's what they're saying. So I'm like, why are you saying Gannon is dead? He is not dead. We are going to find Gannon. And that's the main goal that we all have. My family has. Just because you haven't seen us, we have that same goal. We've been out searching. My aunt has been out searching. My family has been out searching. We all have been doing that together so that we could protect each other.
Gannon is not dead. Now, I don't know how you feel about body language. It's something that I have always been incredibly, incredibly interested in. So this stood out to me heavily. I thought this was incredibly bizarre and telling. She also says at one point, I would never, ever, ever hurt this child.
I would never, never, ever hurt this child.
Which, again, is distancing. I would never hurt Gannon. I would never, ever hurt this child. It's just distancing. And that one's a little bit less than which is his stepmother, but it's still distancing nonetheless.
If I had to give... I'm not going to say that part.
That's okay.
Never mind.
That's right.
We could take that out.
I understand that.
She was the one that wanted to give this interview. Again, I don't know if I said that earlier, but she was the one who wanted to give this interview. After this interview, everyone went crazy. There were Facebook groups popping up everywhere. There was almost like a spectrum of how people felt about Tisha after this interview came out. There were people on this far side who were like, she did this. She is the female Chris Watts. She did this. She murdered him. Let's arrest her now. This interview is the only evidence we need, period. Then there are people in the middle who are like, we need to worry about Gannon. People make interviews and do stupid things and say dumb things all the time. Let's focus on finding Gannon. That's all that matters at this point. We'll come back to all of that later. And then there were people on this side of the spectrum who were completely supportive of Tisha to a toxic level. Some people wanted to change the blue lights and balloons and things in the Lorson Ranch neighborhood. They wanted to change them pink streamers, pink balloons in support of Tisha instead of Gannon. It was a really torn case at this point. You had a lot of support for Tisha and you had a lot of people who absolutely hated Tisha. February 1st and 2nd was a Saturday and Sunday. Nothing major happened in the case. The investigation continues, and on top of that, Tisha continues on Facebook, loving the support she's receiving, and just continually and just blatantly disrespecting Landon on Facebook, just saying horrible things about her. Monday, February the 3rd, there was a huge break in the case. The Stauch family had a neighbor. So this was the Stauch's home. Here was a random house, and here was Roderick Drayton and his wife Tamika. The house in the middle just pretend it's not there because, like I said, they all lived very, very close. So it was their neighbor, essentially. Roderick Drayton is the one who also saw Gannon and Lena that Sunday. Not only did he see them in person, he saw them on his video camera. He and his wife Tamika went over to the Stauch's house on the 28th once they realized that Gannon had been missing, and they offered their support, and they said, listen, we have security cameras. We will pull them for you. We will see what we can see on those, and we'll get them over to you, the police, whatever we need to do. Do you want us to do that? And Tisha said, no. So they were obviously thought that was pretty weird, because if it was their son or daughter, they said they would do anything. They felt uneasy about that. Tamika also says that Tisha was smiling. She, quote, acted like she was at a backyard barbecue, end quote. And that she was, quote, not acting like she lost a son, end quote. Over time, Roderick Drayton is feeling uneasy. He is worried. He can't sleep. He's been staying up all night. He said he went back and watched the footage and looked through it from Saturday the 25th to Monday the 27th. He said he had already looked at the footage. He looked around the time that Gannon was reportedly left the house and, went to the friend's house, but he couldn't see anything because allegedly Gannon left out of the gate. So he went back. He went back to the 25th, which was that Saturday, and watched all the way through the 27th. He said he noticed something that just didn't quite add up. Tisha had been saying that she and Gannon got home from running errands on the 27th at 2:15 p.m. And that was true. Tisha left at 10:16 a.m. from her driveway with Gannon in the back seat, and they arrived home at 2:19. But in the video, something was off. He said he even went from looking at it on his phone to his TV so he could see a bigger picture, to see if maybe his phone was cutting something out. And he said he watched it 30 times, at least 30 times. When Mr. Drayton turned this footage over to law enforcement, he said that the law enforcement officials told him that this was the break that they needed, and they made that public. They said this was the break that they needed. Mr. Drayton says that when Al, Gannon's father, saw this tape, he broke down. He started sobbing, and he said, she lied. She lied about the timeline. She lied. So what did this video show? Tisha claimed that she and Gannon got home around 2:15, and a car did pull into the driveway at 2:15. Tisha got out of the car, opened the garage, and walked in, but Gannon did not appear to be with her.
And I saw him come out the house and get in the vehicle, and then I was like, something isn't right.
Neighbor Roderick Drayton saying his video shows Gannon and his stepmom together a week ago Monday at about 10:13 a.m.
She'll back it up, go inside, and then Gannon will come out. But he looks sluggish, like he was, for me, it's almost like he was drugged.
It wasn't until a few hours later that Roderick Drayton's video shows the truck returning.
I started watching to see if she brought him back home. At 2:19, she came back, locked her truck. Nobody got out of the truck.
This wasn't supposed to be released to the media, but it was. At 10:16 a.m., they left. At 2:15, she came home without him. And at 2:45 was the first time her phone unlocked from home. Why did it take someone who is so obsessed with social media and communicating with those around her? Why did it take her so long from getting home to open her phone? Later on, February the 3rd, investigators searched the Stauch home, and they came out with bags and bags of evidence. So what really happened on Monday, January the 27th? You will find out in part 2 of this video series, which should be up in just a few days. So, just a refresher of the timeline. Saturday, Gannon cut his foot. Tisha bandaged it. He went over to the gate. Sunday, Tisha said that they went hiking, came back home. Harley saw Gannon. Sunday night was the candle video incident. Monday, Tisha claims they went to Petco and ran some other errands and came back home. Monday night, Gannon allegedly went to a friend's house and never came back. Tuesday, Tisha rented a car, picked Alec from the airport, went and searched for Gannon in the rental car, and Landon came. Wednesday, the investigation continued. Thursday, the case was upgraded from a runaway to a missing and endangered person. Tisha and Harley were at Marshall's. Tisha gets her vehicle taken into the evidence compound at 1:45 p.m. Tisha went and did an interview with the police officers, but said that her constitutional rights were violated, and she went home. Friday, the whole community went out in support of Gannon, and volunteers searched everywhere for him. Tisha did an interview with Spencer Wilson. Saturday and Sunday, which was the first and second, investigators just continued to follow this case. Monday, February the 3rd, exactly 1 week since Gannon had been missing, a huge break in the case happened when Mr. Drayton found evidence that Gannon never came home with Tisha. Thank you again so much for watching this. If you stuck with me through it, I appreciate your continued support. Leave me requests for cases, especially for Plot Twist Tuesday, which will be up on Tuesday. I'm hoping that the next Gannon Stauch video will be out on just a few days after this one's posted. And yeah, I just appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.